Hello.
Hi.
I painted these 3 trees at different times in the past 7 years. And each tree represents the tree of life concept. When I reflect on each tree, the words from a 17th century monk named Brother Lawrence comes to mind. And he says that the secret to the life of a tree is that it remains a secret. The secret to the life of a tree remains that it remains rooted in something other and deeper than itself. Trees have been a consistent theme throughout my work for the past 7 years. During those 7 years, my husband and I have lived in Central America in a country called El Salvador. And if you can imagine, El Salvador used to be 90% covered with tropical forests and is now one of the most deforested nations in the Western Hemisphere. When I'd be driving along the countryside, I would have to slam on my brakes and get out of the car and just stop and stand and stare at some of the largest and most amazing solitary trees I have ever seen. And in some sense, the old trees and the lack of community that these trees were once a part of just broke my heart. It symbolized death to me. And on the other hand, these trees that stood alone and strong and solitary represented life to me. And I would just stare at these trees and I would think about how many storms and how many hurricanes and how many earthquakes that these trees must have seen and endured. If we can imagine a storm just ripping through Colombia and threatening our trees, and this storm would break off the tree's branches and tear off the tree's leaves and loosen these trees' roots. And you'd imagine by the end of this storm, these trees just look hopeless and they can look dead and lifeless. But if we take a little bit of a closer look at these trees, you can see that the same storm that violently tore up these trees loosened up the ground and the earth around these trees and allowed for the roots of these beat-up trees to go even deeper into the ground and to seek new nourishment. And these same trees can now grow new buds and can grow new leaves and now can rely on a stronger foundation because of this storm. About 11 months ago now? Yeah. About 11 months ago, we were in El Salvador, and I was told the worst news of my entire life. I was told that I had an aggressive form of breast cancer. And
we're with you.
So the doctor said I had a 50-50 chance of surviving the next 5 years. And I basically heard blah, blah, blah. And Dave and I said blah, blah, blah. It was just a really horrible thing to hear. And within 10 days of finding out that news, Dave and I packed up our bags and our 2 kids, and we moved to Columbia, Missouri so I could receive treatment immediately. In short, you can say that we've weathered, stop crying. In short, you can say that we have weathered our own type of storm, our own type of very violent storm. And at times I have felt like these solitary trees and how they must feel like after a storm with their branches torn off and their leaves ripped off and their roots just scrambled. And I've had to cling on to those words that Brother Lawrence said, and I've had to remember them, that the secret to the life of a tree is that it remains rooted in something other than itself. And throughout this violent storm time, I've had a confidence that my strain on my roots and the ripping of my leaves and the tearing of my branches has only provided space, a new space for my roots to grow even deeper in search of a deeper sustenance and a greater thirst for God. In short, I feel that the imagery of the tree of life and its ability to endure and weather so many storms and hurricanes and earthquakes serves as an inspiration to us all. And yeah, it's been certainly an inspiration to me, and that the uprooting and the tearing off branches and the ripping of leaves should only serve to strengthen us and to keep us growing stronger and in search of a deeper sustenance and a deeper desire to know God.